All right, let's talk about one of the biggest shakeups in academia right now, artificial intelligence. By 2025, the conversation has totally changed. We're not just talking about cheating anymore. No, we've moved way past that and into something, well, something like a full-blown structural crisis. So, let's get into it.
For the last couple of years, this was the question, right? It was everywhere in faculty meetings, all over course policies, probably fueling a lot of late-night grading sessions. It was basically a classic moral panic.
But here's the thing. As AI has become, just part of the ecosystem, we're realizing that was just way too small of a question. The ground has completely shifted, and honestly, those old debates, they just don't really cut it anymore.
And you can really see that evolution here. I mean, look, we started with this moral panic phase, plagiarism, fake references, all that stuff. But now, we're in a structural crisis. We've gone from worrying about what one student is doing in one classroom to asking these massive systemic questions about everything. Academic identity, how universities are run, and even who gets to be in charge of what we call knowledge. Okay, so to really dig into what this structural crisis means, we're going to break it down. We'll look at 5 key problems that are all tangled up together, and you'll see how they all point to one single, massive question. Who's really in charge here? Let's start with the part of this puzzle that's maybe the most personal. So, first up is this really personal identity crisis. I mean, what does it even mean to be an author when you've got an AI basically co-writing with you? And believe me, this goes so far beyond just fixing a few typos or grammar mistakes.
For a lot of writers, and this is especially true for non-native English speakers, AI has become this confidence scaffold, as researchers are calling it. It's doing more than just polishing sentences. It's actually helping to lower anxiety, making them sound like they belong in academic circles, and giving them the confidence to really step up and claim their place.
And this is where we hit the real paradox. On the one hand, you've got this tool that's building people up, giving them a stronger voice. But on the other hand, the exact same writers are talking about this crushing guilt, this feeling like they've lost control over their own ideas, and this deep, nagging uncertainty about whether the work is even theirs anymore.
This quote from a researcher really just says it all, doesn't it? I am proud of the final text, but I am not sure if it is mine. Wow, that's not a small thing. This isn't about style. It's a fundamental identity crisis. And in a world where your writing is basically your resume, where it's the currency of your entire career, yeah, that kind of instability is a huge, huge problem. Okay, so that leads us right into our second crisis, because this all builds on itself. We're moving from identity to truth, or what some are calling epistemic reliability. It's one thing to feel like you're faking it, but what happens when the words on the page are the real imposter?
And this is where we run into this really great but scary term, the credibility parasite. See, AI is getting so good that it can create text that looks, sounds, and feels totally legit, like real, rigorous science. It can even make up citations and invent DOIs that look real. It's literally wearing the costume of truth to sneak in things that are completely false.
So what you get is this really dangerous mix. The AI spits out this super fluent, very confident-sounding text. A student who trusts the tech just plugs it into their work, feeling great about it, but they don't check it. And in fields like medicine, this isn't just an academic game. We're talking about a situation where a made-up citation could actually influence a clinical decision and impact a real person's health. The stakes are incredibly high.
Which naturally brings us to problem number 3. If students have these incredibly powerful tools helping them write and structure and polish their papers, how in the world are we supposed to grade them? The whole system we use for assessment just starts to fall apart.
I mean, really, think about it. What does an A on a paper even mean anymore? Does it mean the student is a great writer? Or does it mean they're a great prompt engineer? Or maybe, does it just reflect how good the AI's training data was? The honest answer is, we just don't know for sure. And it gets even trickier. Because as we start using more and more AI tools for feedback and even grading, there's this quiet, creeping danger. The very definition of good writing could start to change. It could start to mean whatever is easiest for the machine to understand and reward instead of, actual human insight and critical thinking. And just like that, the power to decide what's excellent slips away from the professor and over to the algorithm.
So if grading is this unstable, you'd think universities would be all over creating some clear, solid policies, right? Well, that's problem number 4. Instead of unity, we're seeing different departments create completely contradictory rules, sometimes in the very same building.
What's happening is we've got these two totally incompatible systems popping up. On one side, you have fields like medicine and health, and they are building walls. They're all about managing liability, demanding disclosure, and making sure a human is always accountable. But then, on the other side, you have fields like education and writing, and they're building bridges. They're encouraging students to use AI, framing it as this great tool for empowerment. I mean, these two mindsets just can't exist together in one institution. It's setting up a real power struggle over who gets to make the rules.
All this confusion over policy, it creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, a whole new kind of inequality is taking root. This is our fifth big problem. Knowing how to use AI the right way, critically, is becoming a new kind of currency, a new form of academic capital.
And the gap is already becoming massive. You have students with low AI literacy who just trust it too much. They copy and paste generic stuff and end up getting penalized for it. Then you have the students with high AI literacy. They're using it strategically like a partner, and it's launching their learning and research way past everyone else. So no, this isn't leveling the playing field. If anything, it's making the gap between the haves and have-nots even wider.
So what does that high-level skill actually look like in practice? Well, it's not just typing in a simple question and hitting enter. It's about treating the AI like a real thinking partner. It's an ongoing conversation, using it to come up with counterarguments, to tweak the tone for different audiences, to brainstorm, all while you're constantly critically checking everything it gives you. That is a really complex skill, and it's definitely not being taught to everyone equally.
Okay, so let's recap. We've just walked through these huge shifts in identity, truth, assessment, policy, and inequality. It's pretty clear at this point that we are so far beyond a simple should we ban it or allow it debate. All of these different problems are really just symptoms of something much, much bigger. Because when you get right down to it, every single one of these issues is a class of fundamental values. Is AI a tool for empowerment, or is it creating dependency? Does it build up a writer's confidence, or does it tear down the integrity of evidence? Can we have its assistance without sacrificing fairness? These are the real tensions that are going to define the future of academia.
Because that old question, should we use AI, that's already been answered for us. The reality is, it's here. It's already woven into the very fabric of how everyone, from students to top researchers, gets their work done. So the debate has moved on. It's about something way more important now.
And really, this is the bottom line. The whole struggle over AI in our universities, it isn't really about the tech. It's about who gets to define the terms. Who gets to say what counts as real knowledge? Who decides who is a credible author? And ultimately, whose rules does everyone else have to play by? That's not just a conversation about teaching methods. That is about power.